I really like the opening crawl in this movie. It is a dark time for the rebellion. It's setting the tone right away after the last movie that things aren't going so well. By the way, for those of you who aren't lore junkies, this movie takes place 3 years after A New Hope. Also, this one sentence in the opening crawl that references the Death Star is the only time the Death Star is mentioned in the movie. Not once do any of the characters say a word about it. Everyone except Palpatine, who mentions it once. In the first shot of the movie, there are 3 objects that can be seen, 2 planets and the Star Destroyer. All 3 have light hitting on it on the right side. Pretty solid consistency in the shot. So these are obviously probe droids sent out to find the rebel base. I'm assuming each one of these probes is going to a different corner of the galaxy, but I'm also assuming these probes don't have hyperdrives. How are they moving across the galaxy so quickly? Wait a minute. Before, we already saw a probe droid crashing on the planet. Now another one crashes? The Empire sent 2 droids to this random ass planet? Also, one of my biggest criticisms of the Star Wars movies is how small they make planets feel. I want you to think of the odds that a probe droid happens to land maybe a kilometer away from Luke. Think about if someone picked a random point on the globe and by complete chance, they picked a spot a kilometer away from you. Those odds are very slim.
There's a meteorite that hit the ground near here. I want to check it out. It won't take long.
Is that a common thing someone would do? Just casually check on a meteor? It would make more sense if Luke said, hey, something fell from the sky. I want to see if it's a meteor or something.
Steady, girl. Hey, what's the matter? You smell something?
A few shots ago, we see that Luke is in a completely open field. How this Wampa managed to sneak up on him is quite impressive. In the background here, you can see one of the Wall-E-looking droids we saw in the first movie.
Well, there's a price on my head. If I don't pay off Jabba the Hutt, I'm a dead man.
Wait a minute, Han. I remember at the end of the last movie, after you were collecting all your money, you told Luke that you had debts to pay off. What did you do with all that money Leia gave you? Did you even pay off any debts, Han?
Well, Your Highness, guess this is it.
That's right.
Don't get all mushy on me. So long, princess.
This movie might just be the funniest of the franchise. I don't know, these conversations between Han and Leia are so well done. I also really like how before Leia says a word, we get 4 different shots of her just looking at Han. I'm not a body language expert, but I wonder if this is a subtle way for the movie to tell us she's really into Han.
Hey, Pete, I didn't ask you to turn on the thermal heater. I merely commented that it was freezing in the princess's chamber.
When I rewatch these movies for my videos, I put on subtitles so I can catch lines of dialogue that usually aren't so clear. Here, 3PO comments about how he doesn't know how he's gonna dry Leia's clothes. Is that something he does? Is 3PO like the janitor of the rebellion? I find that hilarious.
Nobody knows where he is.
What do you mean nobody knows?
Well, you said...
Tech officer! Tech officer!
Excuse me, sir. Might I...
Yes, sir.
I'm not gonna repeat myself unless it's a special circumstance, but again, Han is just so funny. I also really like this moment for Han here. He comes across as someone who's really selfish, right? But the second he finds out Luke might be missing, he abandons leaving the planet to make sure Luke's okay. It's a good way to show us how much he cares.
Your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker.
Then I'll see you in hell.
I'm not the first person to point this out, but it's really interesting how in Star Wars people use terms like hell or God. We know what hell is because of our earthly religions, but is there hell in any Star Wars religion? There certainly isn't one in the religion of the Force. I wonder what the origins of hell are in Star Wars. In this one shot, look at the positioning of the lightsaber in the snow. Here you can see pretty much the whole hilt as if it's just laying in the snow, but a few shots later, at least half of the hilt is buried inside the snow. This is a good scene. It's a good way to show Luke is progressing along his training while also featuring a new Force ability. Keep in mind, levitation was not something we saw in the first movie. With that being said, however, this is overanalyzing Star Wars, so I'm gonna be that guy. How did Luke learn how to do this? He hasn't been talking to Obi-Wan, and he hasn't met Yoda yet. Who taught him that he could lift objects with the Force? I guess Luke is able to do feats in the Force with little to no training. That's a little, dare I say, Mary Sue-ish to me.
Don't say things like that. Of course we'll see Master Luke again.
This line is quite unlike something 3PO would say. This is the guy that always tells people the slim odds of something happening. He even tells Leia the odds of Luke surviving a few scenes later. So 3PO making blanket comments about someone being okay is quite unlike him.
R2 says the chances of survival are 725 to 1.
Huh. 3PO says R2 calculated the odds of survival, not him. I can't remember any other time R2 was the one who calculated the odds. Interesting. But this moment here also shows how insensitive 3PO is. Imagine your sibling or best friend got hurt and is in the hospital. You're really worried and someone comes up to you and says, "Your friend has less than a 1% chance of surviving." I'd be like, "Fuck you, asshole." This scene has unnecessary high tension, but I kinda like it. We all know Han and Luke aren't going to die in the beginning of the movie, but this shot of Leia watching the door close and then Chewbacca roaring gives this feeling of dread. It's a well done moment.
Ben, you will go to the Dagobah system.
Since we know Luke will be okay, this scene works great, but when you really think about it, Obi-Wan's timing here is hilarious. Luke is right now in the middle of a blizzard about to freeze to death, and Obi-Wan is like, "Go train with Yoda on Dagobah." If I was Luke, I'd be like, "Dude, I might die here, let's worry about that first." When you think about it, Han being able to survive in the blizzard overnight is ridiculous. Let's recap, shall we? Han's Tauntaun died relatively quickly because the blizzard was so cold. Also, the rebels had to close the shield doors because it was so cold it could damage the inside of the base. I don't care that Han is wearing a coat. If it is that cold, no human could survive multiple hours in that kind of weather. Luke is inside the Tauntaun, so he's okay. Going back to the point I just made, Han was not only out in the cold, but look how far he is from the base. The speeders had to go find him, he was that far out. How Han managed to find Luke is incredible. Crazy stuff, man. I've heard a theory and I want to share it with you guys. So between the filming of A New Hope and the filming of The Empire Strikes Back, Mark Hamill got into a serious car accident that damaged his face pretty badly. So the theory is that the reason they had Luke get all scratched up in the face was to give us a reason for all of Luke's new facial scars. It's not noticeable at first, but if you look at side-by-side images of Luke in A New Hope and in The Empire Strikes Back, you can see a bit of a difference.
He looks strong enough to pull the ears off a gun dart.
Thanks to you.
That's 2 you owe me, Junior.
He says that's now 2 you owe me. Is the other time Luke owes him from Han saving him on the Death Star trench run? That would make sense.
Guess you don't know everything about women yet.
Yep. Luke and Leia kissed. Yummers. Luke kinda giving a bragging expression afterwards just makes this so much worse. You know, back in the day before Return of the Jedi, Luke and Leia were a popular couple fans wanted to see happen. Even today, when you watch fans who watch the movie for the first time, a lot of people ship Luke and Leia. Just an interesting observation.
Excuse us, please.
Is that a red Bacta tank in the background? I don't know why. I really like seeing Chewbacca in the snow. It's so goofy. And this is the first time we hear the Imperial March in the Star Wars saga. This entire sequence of revealing the Super Star Destroyer was really well done. Having it cast a shadow on the regular Star Destroyers was a great way to show comparison. It reminds me of that one shot in Rogue One where we first see the Death Star. It's a shame, however, that this giant-ass Star Destroyer is going to be destroyed because a single A-Wing fighter flew into the command bridge.
Followed up every lead we could.
The whole system is supposed to be devoid of human forms.
This shot where Vader walks by the officers and they all look at him is a secretly brilliant shot. Moments like these give us the impression that Vader's presence carried real weight behind it. It's not an action that makes something powerful, but a reaction that makes something powerful. These reactions from the officers say everything.
That's it. The rebels are there.
There are so many moments in these original movies where if they happened today, people would openly laugh at them. Vader here just looks at an image and instantly concludes that the rebels are there. There's this moment in The Rise of Skywalker where Finn knows where the comm tower is because he has a feeling. This is literally the same thing as that. Darth Vader likely used the Force to conclude where the rebels were based on an image. I think it's a little silly in both this movie and in The Rise of Skywalker. By the way, I love the redesign of Vader in this movie. Giving him a reflective helmet instead of the plasticky looking one in the first movie is a decision I fully support. This is another hilarious moment. I love the plot point that the Falcon is such a mess in this movie. Look, it's another sighting of the Wally droid.
Be careful.
You too.
This is another really subtle moment that I like. For one, it's the last time the two see each other in the movie, and also this feeling of dread that comes with the moment. Shit is about to go down. This is often how men say goodbye, not some elaborate farewell. It's often just a simple be careful.
Have failed me for the last time, Admiral.
This moment here is just as terrifying as it is hilarious. Obviously, this is just a great display of power from Vader. The movie gives us every opportunity to fear Vader, and it's done very well. But the moment that gets me every time is when Piet quickly glances to the side at the guy who's choking to death. I don't know if it's intended to be funny or I'm just a sicko, but it's hilarious.
The heavy transport ships will leave as soon as they're loaded. Only 2 fighter escorts per ship.
Sometimes I forget how short Leia really is. She was 5'1", but I also love how the scene still shows us how confident she is and what kind of leader she is. That's what makes us love Princess Leia.
Their primary target will be the power generators.
These fucking screens, man. They were in the last movie and they're here too. What do they mean? What's on them? I also completely missed this. We are introduced to the second ever woman in the rebellion. I have no clue what her name is, but welcome to the rebellion. Considering there's no gravity in space, seeing the Star Destroyer fall to the side after it is shot makes no sense. Unless you're arguing they're close enough to the atmosphere where this would actually have an impact on the ship.
Feeling all right, sir?
Just like new, Dak. How about you?
Right now, I feel like I could take on the whole empire myself.
I'm sure Dallas Cowboy fans wish Dak Prescott had the same amount of confidence as Luke's friend Dak here. Click on the link here to watch Overanalyzing Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back Part 2. If you don't see the link, the video hasn't come out yet. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to tonight the Clot Squad, and I will see you guys next time.